Okay, so we are live. Okay, so again, welcome to our second Equator webinar, a design conversation with our very own local filmmaker. So thank you for joining us this evening. I hope this session will inspire all of you as before. So with us this evening is David Thian. So David Thian is born and raised in a small town called Parit Bunta. So David started off as a photographer and a graphic designer. He is now a film director and producer. So he has now directed and produced 2 local films under his belt, 913 The Returning and Sang Pong O, which both films make a significant presence in the local film industry. So it is an honor to have you in this webinar. Can you further introduce yourself to the audience, David?
Hey, first of all, thanks to me. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm David Thian. I was 43. Then I started involved in the filmmaking line around 6 years ago.
Okay, so thank you. So how do you come to become a photographer from a graphic designer? So you started as a graphic designer, right?
Yeah. Okay, actually I'm studying graphic design, and then I'm become a graphic designer not many years, just like a few years. So after that, I'm working in Singapore because in Singapore, majority my job scope is using Photoshop to editing the photo and enhance the photo. So even for the design part, mostly I design the wedding album for my company because my boss, he's own around 7 bridal house in Singapore. That time I'm in hired to set up the what we call that the digital photo lab. So this direct me to the photography path. And when I come back from Singapore since 2006, so I starting my photography journey. Until now, I'm still doing photography, sometimes, especially for commercial project. But now I'm not fully involved in the wedding photography.
Okay, David. So I remember many years back when we were still young, when you were still doing a wedding photography, you already started to go into a little bit of short film, right?
Yes.
With this guy in suit, right? With a balloon, I remember.
Yeah. With the balloon, it's a guys wearing the tuxedo and with the balloon, and the short film is a fully black and white. Inside, we are playing the very jazzy music. I think there's some kind of like an experimental video because that time my main job scope is photography. So I try to involve myself in the what we call it the short film making, but we are using the DSLR as well. So in fact, that time around my surrounding have a lot of friends. They also doing the video shooting. So we will come out what we call that the experimental project that maybe not necessarily in Penang. We only can doing the like wedding video or maybe someone called the corporate video as well. So we try to doing something different from the market. So that short film we call it uniquely Penang Island, but we are not expecting that the video after upload on Facebook, then the feedback is quite huge and success. So that period, that period. So I'm feeling quite inspiring. So I feel that maybe my future, I can working as a what we call that the filmmaking, and maybe involve myself in the movie industry.
Okay, so can I say that this short film is the one that that built the path of you going into filmmaking?
Of course, with this short film is I feel the first time a small successful and very satisfied in the what we call it the experimental movie making. But of course, the path to guide me to the filmmaking, I think very influenced me since I was young is because I'm living in a small town called Paraventa. In front of my family business is what we call it the kopitiam, the typical kedai kopi. So in front our shop, there's a very old school cinema. During I was kid time, every time I watching the movie is free because my uncle he working in that cinema. So that every time I can get a lot of the free pass. I think that time is the most important time that influenced whole my life.
Oh, interesting life.
Yes.
So you grew up with this old school cinema environment.
Yeah, environment. I believe and we were born in 70. So I think that time is considered the golden era of the sci-fi movie.
Yeah,
So
true.
I think every kid around that time they're always dreaming about like maybe yourself inside the movie like Star Wars, the story like putting yourself inside the story.
So now as a filmmaker yourself,
Uh,
what are the challenges you face, like transiting from a photographer to a filmmaker? Because in photo you always do still shots, right?
mm-hmm.
So everything you capture is going to be perfect. But now in film, everything is in motion, So there's no one particular frame that is perfect. You have to make sure every shots are perfect now.
I think the challenging is quite big, of course, because as a still photographer, normally we work in a very small team. Like maybe myself as a photographer, and my wife is was my image maker or what we call it the makeup artist. Sometimes I have only one assistant to making a commercial shoot still photography. But I think movie is about a bunch of the people. I think sometimes our production more than 100, our crew. So the biggest challenge is not about how to produce the movie. I think it's much about how to become a leader,
Means that
leading the whole crew going to the right direction and making the what we call it the great film. This issue is not because when I'm a producer, then everybody must listen to me. Of course, I have the power to control them. But I think for the filmmaking, it's more about the teamwork.
yeah. So so one I think part of the challenge is how you manage a bigger group
Yes,
of people, right?
yes,
Like
bigger group.
in photo, maybe you manage only about 3-4 people the most.
That's right.
But
That's right.
but how many people do you manage in film?
Okay, let's say from starting from the what we call it the pre-production until the screening. I think the people involved in one filmmaking more than 300 people. Then, if only we count on set that time, for our local production for 913, the returning is considered what we call it the big production in Malaysia because we have a few days is more than 100 crew, 100 people. So this not only what we call that we count the crew that on set. Some is including the helper, like what we call it the Lela, Bomba, maybe St. John or ambulance. Those are unit standby to help us.
Yeah, talking about your first film,
Mm,
913.
yeah,
It's a horror film, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so from somebody who always shoot for wedding, a love
Mm,
story, being
mm.
romance. I think everyone, all of your friends are expecting you to do love
Love
story.
story, right?
Yeah, but your first film is uh, a horror film. So can you talk a little bit more about your first film?
The story is based on the true event, the tragedy that happened in my hometown, 1972. So I'm quite familiar with this real history story. So when I have an idea to making a new film, my first film, of course, I will try to filming that the maybe the what we call that the 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 scenario that I'm quite familiar. And of course, I will looking some places that I can get a lot of sources that can help me to make this film success. Not only the crew. So the 913, the returning, of course, is not like usual that I'm doing the wedding photo very romancing and romantic. Then I'm I'm I think 913 the returning is much like myself the how I okay. I think for whole my life I like those concept is more darkness about the design and the idea is more like a darkness and fancy stuff. But of course,
Means
as
means
the
something mystery.
three, yes, yes. Of course, my major job is a wedding photographer. So if you're asking me this question, I think 913 is much like myself, my style. And what I did for the wedding industry, we can say it is about the commercial part.
Okay. So how were you inspired by this 913? I mean, what is the? I heard that it's. I mean, you have been telling us a lot about the true story, true event, right? So
Mm.
so how does the people around you react to this story? Being a Malaysian, you know that there are lots of taboo. People might feel offended in a lot of things that you do, especially on when you touch on true story. So
Yeah, yes, of course. When we're starting this project and we announce in Facebook, a lot of people they attack me through social media, and some they say why I'm like doing this kind of the story that we still digging the what we call that the pain of those family who involved in this tragedy. But in fact, my idea to making this film because for those friends who really go to after watching my first film, they will understand why I want to do the 913 the returning because the story is about to telling about the forgiveness and don't living in your path and walk through your phobia because the message we want to bring out is around this issue. But because of course the film before screening, people they don't know about the storyline and we keep the storyline secret as well. So some of the family who involved in this strategy, they also what we call that. So we call that like blackmail me, calling me through telephone and blackmail me, ask me to pay for their pain that because everyone they thought that making a film as a director or producer, I earn a lot of money.
yeah, especially when I watched the film, I think it involves a lot. I mean, it's the lots of scene is quite realistic. I think it's a very good milestone that a Malaysian filmmaker, especially for yourself, your first film that you have come up with or directing, uh, has lots of visual effects, special effects, makeup, and so on, right? Yeah, especially I hope everyone here already watched 913, The Returning. I don't want to give a lot of spoiler here. Yeah, so maybe you can talk a little bit about what makes you have that courage, have that courage to actually employ so much of these visual effects works, because I know that for first time filmmaker, a lot of people just wanted to stay safe, just wanted to stay in their safe zone, but I think you have gone beyond just your safe zone. So what gives you that courage to go to that extent?
First, of course, I need to looking for a big budget fund. Of course, I met some investor. They can really appreciate my idea. But we're talking about the computer graphic or the CG inside the movie, because I think that was necessary. At first, we are trying to shoot everything in the rear, like maybe we using the makeup, and even the when the ferry sinking part, we also try to make it in real. But in fact, if we really want to sink the bus or make the ferry sinking, I think the cost is much huge than the CGI. So I want to make this film not a typical horror movie, but in fact, it's more like you can get something very different from the visual, like just how you mentioned. Because for those Malaysia production, they rare to play around with the CGI. So maybe myself, starting from photography, so I'm quite take it serious about the visually.
So I think it's your photography experience that
Yes.
allows you to go beyond to that, because of being a perfectionist to details, right? So I think your second film, it's San Pong O. So it's more to what you do in your life, right?
It's considered a very commercial type.
Yeah. So when I see your works from first film and second film, it reminds me of this Thai director called Banjong Bisantanakun, the director of The Shutter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I met the director many years ago. So out of curiosity, I asked him the same question as I asked you. Like why he ventured into horror film. So to my surprise, that he said that his interest is not really in a horror film. It's more to romantic comedies. And it's to my surprise that is his first film, and it's also a horror film. Just like your path. That's why the second film onwards that this director directed, it's all romance comedy or maybe horror comedy.
Yeah.
So, what about you? From uh, from a horror film
to the comedy.
to the love romance comedy film.
The second film I produced, Sempong O, is a kind like we are making, like the market survey, because I'm considered a new filmmaker in Malaysia at that time. But the first film come out, some media, their feedback and their comment is considered like encourage people to watching this movie. Then, but mostly I think the audience from my friend and some from the internet, that social media. I saw some comment. The people they leave a comment in our page because for my first film they say it's too darkness and it's too, how we call that, the mood will feel very down. And most people they know about me, they know my real life. I smile a lot, I laugh a lot. I'm a happy guy.
Okay.
Then that's why people they always ask me why I want to make those kind of like movie look very negative side. Why you don't want to produce more positive side? Now our world have enough negative issue. That time I'm still thinking about this issue. So one day my staff, one of my staff, I call that my student. Uh, he told me about his experience about to chasing a girl that very fancy about the Korean culture. Then on that conversation, I suddenly like bring up an idea. Why not you give me the whole story? You go to write down what you happen and what inside your mindset when you want to chasing this girl, and it is a some part of his real story. So I say if this story after I read that can get my attraction, so we turn it in our second movie, our second film. So the idea basically is starting from that student, but of course, in movie we need to make it more fancy, make it more interesting. So we are working together with my first film writer, screenwriter. So we rewrite the whole story and we put in some more we call that more magical idea inside this Sumpongo, because Sumpongo is not like a typical romantic movie, because inside have some magical issue.
Yeah, I remember watching our local film review YouTuber,
Mm.
and to my amazement is that Sanpon O is one of the top 10 film of 2018, right?
Mm.
Is it 2018 or
2018, I think. Yeah, 2018.
yeah? So one of the top 10 films of 2018, and a lot of other film critics also uh, say that this film is beyond their imagination, and it's a beautiful film. So in this film there are lots of actors, like big actors compared to your first film,
Yeah,
correct?
of course.
Yeah. So how do you get those actors to be in your film? I mean, looking at this is just your second film, and you have such uh, uh, how to say such a big profile for that.
I think one thing is like, because every time I'm planning to do a project, I will not thinking about the fearless side. I only thinking the positive side, that if I want to do it, I will make sure this thing will happen. As like what I'm saying, because I'm looking for the funder and we are selling the idea to the investor. Because investor they buy this idea, they buy the gimmick of this movie. So of course we using the Korean actor and Taiwan actress, also the Hong Kong actor. But why we do this kind of the combination? Because we want to let the, what we call that, because although we are the Malaysian local production, but we try to connect our local production, the market, with the Asia or Asian. So this kind of the this few actor and actress inside the movie actually is personally I go to meet them and selling the whole idea to them. especially the Korea, the Korea actor, the Korea guy. When we are having a casting in Korea, I think I cast more than 30 handsome guys over there.
Okay.
Yeah. And because I think all the package of the Korea actor, they are too handsome for this movie. So at the end, because according to the story, we want the story, the main actor of the story cannot be the most handsome guy. It's what the reverse idea of my story.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, means that as a filmmaker yourself now, the challenges is also having to convince investors, right?
Yes. Suppose this job scope is more for the producer side because I'm one of the producer as well. So normally I will try myself to selling the story to my investor. I think this kind of the method is much better than depend on my producer. For my experience, I think mostly the investor, they are very happy to meet the director as well directly, because only from the director's side can fully to telling the whole story and the idea, also the gimmick of the film, rather than they just listen to the producer to selling the investment plan.
Okay. So, as a local, do you think there is a future of making film? I think this is the toughest question.
For me, Malaysia as a filmmaker, if we are still making a film success for the future, right? I think yes, I think you can have a bright future if you keep to produce a good film. Because why? Now I think the whole world we are not to separate like you are Malaysia production, Hong Kong production, China, or even the Korea, because now have a lot of film festival. You can send your film to participate the film festival, the competition. Some more you can meet a lot of filmmaker overseas through the film market. So produce a film is not about where is your market in Malaysia, the location of your market. I think the market is the worldwide. The only thing is the movie that you produce can reach that market standard. Somehow, how you create your own market and introduce your film to the overseas. Because beside the what we call it the cinema line, now I think mostly a lot of film they are purposely create for the online platform, such like Netflix, Youku, and iQIYI.
Yeah, true. Do you think? I think with this pandemic is that happened, and with this MCO that we had, a few months ago. I think with this, a lot of people realize that the future is here, right? So,
Yes.
so everything that you do, you can do it from home. People started to realize that, hey, I do not need an office anymore. I can just work from
Yeah, I
home.
agree. Yes.
So what is the future of streaming? Like your first film, I see that you had it in iFlix, and I have also seen that Netflix has been a great supporter of our Malaysian local films.
Yes.
In Netflix alone, you can find all the great local films, Malay films, Chinese film that is local. So, what do you think that Malaysian filmmakers could do or could take advantage of this streaming?
I think that's a good thing, especially for our local production, because for Malaysia local production, we always let people that have an image that Malaysia production is about the low budget and low cost. Sometimes when you put it in the big screen in cinema, so they will feel like, hey, why? Like just now, Children, you mentioned about the CGI, but now if the platform is online, so I think the what we call it, the effect and some of the quality of the film, you can we can save for certain costs for this issue. Second thing, if the streaming, what we call it, this kind of the streaming platform now already is the future of the filmmaking, because why? We have a better and more choice to release our production and our film, not only depend on the cinema line. So we can sell it to a lot of different platforms like the Netflix and just on what I mentioned about the iQIYI, Youku. Then means your film is can going to the worldwide, because like when you're selling your rights, your film to iQIYI, not only the China they can watch your film, maybe the whole world. Those people who know about the platform, they can watch a movie anytime. So you can pick anytime, you just log in.
Yeah, true. I think before this, film distribution worked
Yes.
in a very different way than now. I mean, after the MCO, whatever things that we predict that will happen in another 10 years
Mm,
just happen in a
mm,
few months' time, right?
mm.
So
Yeah.
even now, all the Hollywood films are in the brink of going straight to streaming,
Mm.
right? So under this distribution, so do you think that streaming actually kill most of your distribution income or benefits that you have?
Uh, as a filmmaker, I think the streaming is good for us. You know why? Because we no need work together with other distributor. Because when we want to distribute our film, of course we can. We have a license, but mostly we will send it to another party that we call that the film distributor. So the film distributor, they will arrange all the cinema hall with a different brands like GSC, TGV. So of course they have a cost there. Even what we call that the profit from the ticketing, they also will charge on it. Then if now we will go into the streaming, if my production house in a year we produce a lot of content, not mention about the feature film, like some is a short film. If I have enough of the content, myself can set up my own platform. It's like a mini cinema online. So we don't need to pay any distribution cost. So for filmmaker, I think this is good for us. But of course, as a distributor, I think they were facing another new challenge for it. So they need to maybe to modify their strategy as well.
Yeah, I think yeah, like you say, uh, streaming. I think this MCO make people realize one thing, that their world is not small anymore. I mean,
Yes.
like even we are doing webinar now. During MCO, a lot of people are doing webinar,
Mm.
and webinar is online, which a lot of locals did not realize that when you're online, you can actually go beyond
Yeah.
your country or your area, right? So with this vast advancement, evolution of online, of technology, do you see, other than streaming, what technology can actually bring benefits to this film industry?
Technology.
I think uh, 5 6 years ago, there is when 360 virtual reality comes back.
Mm.
people has been talking about 360 cinema.
Yes.
Where you go into the cinema, you actually wear VR goggles and watch movies. Like you are like in that world itself.
I think that okay. I heard about that some filmmaker and some friends say maybe in the future the movie we can decide the ending by ourselves. It's some kind of like AR, augmented
Okay.
reality. Yeah, I think this will be like a new trend in the future because I think mostly the movie or the even the series every time you watch until the end, so you might find out I don't satisfied with this kind of the ending. So means the movie maybe give the audience another choice that maybe you can choose. I think I heard some of the production they make this kind of like similar thing like maybe the story they already shoot two version, but the starting part and the ending part is quite different. So if you click for this, the story will go the another line. Then the ending is different. I think there's some small production house they already do this kind of the experimental movie.
Yeah, true. Uh, so what do you think the future of this film industry is going to be like? Like
Mm.
do you think that with this streaming, will you see more streaming website or more streaming channels is going to come up soon? Like HBO is coming up with
Yes,
HBO
yes.
Max.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, Disney Plus
Mm.
is going to launch in Indonesia. And, I think next month. And so on. So, are you looking at more of this thing coming up? I think for documentary also they have their own
Yes,
streaming app,
yes.
right?
Yes. Uh, I think this is a good future for filmmaker. You know why? Because more competitive for the platform or channel. That means create more opportunity for content maker. So filmmaker we consider a content maker. Even sometimes we not only produce a movie. Right now I also having a new projects. A new company starting with my two partner called PME. Mainly we just only produce the online content, like a documentary, the local music composer with our music and we more to music visionally type. Yeah, we are doing this. So this consider a very short content like a 3 to 5 minutes. But because this project we were going like a 6 month or 3 month like a season and season. So create more opportunity and create more uh what we call it the job for this market and film industry, the production industry. So right now I'm working together with a bunch of youngster and new what we call that new filmmaker before they
Yeah.
going to before they going to produce a feature film in the cinema. So they maybe starting to produce a short film for our platform first. So
Oh,
from this platform, we can recommend to our investor, let them to see their potential. So even though one day if I'm still in the filmmaking, might be myself will no longer in the director way, but I'm much like a producer. So there's a new director from this young age. They will take over my part, and we can what we call that 栽培啊.
oh.
Okay.
Means that replace.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Make
Having
more
younger
talented, make more talented,
young talent to
young
come up.
talented. Yeah, that come up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting when you talks about director and producer, because to many people that everyone when they talks about film, they talk only about the director, right? But many doesn't know that producer actually is the one that make the film possible, right? Because
Mm,
producer are the one who go and find money, go and find finance for the film.
Yes, yes, because in Malaysia, they always say that if you want to produce a movie, we have a two system. One system, we call that the producer system. The other system called director system. You know how to differentiate these two things? Like in Hollywood, mostly I think the filming industry, they are going to the producer system. Example, because like Steven Spielberg, very well known for the direct thing, but he also very good producer. Sometimes the company asking him like maybe you need to produce 10 film in 1 year. So Steven Spielberg as a producer part, maybe he will assign a good director for this story because he know who can fit for the job, who can perfect for this what we call it the job scope. But for director system, it's much like the director, they want to starting a project. Then maybe director itself also a producer. So he will go looking, selling the idea to the investor as well. So in director system, I think mostly the biggest power is on director hand. So director can control everything. But if going for the producer system, like just now what I mentioned about like a Steven Spielberg, director only they will much like on technical side and the idea side, but how to market the film, maybe that's not what can director can control. It's about to let the producer to do it.
Okay, very interesting. I think in Hollywood they have another one called executive producer,
Yes, yes,
or
yes,
we
yes.
call that person a spy from the film studio.
Yes.
Yes.
They really just like some they are take care about the finance part, and some they just monitor the whole process.
All right, great. So time really flies very, very fast. So I think what will be your best advice to the audiences out there who are interested in becoming the next filmmaker?
Of course, I think first thing must be your passion about this creative industry or maybe for the filmmaking line. Because from the outside, everyone thought that filmmaking is very fun and making a movie is like a very, what we call it, feel like this line is very fun. But in fact, it's a different because making a movie or produce a movie is very tough. So first, I think you need to have your own self-discipline. Then the what we call the ability to release your stress. I think this is the
Okay.
most important thing. You need to know how to release your stress, especially when if the movie cannot make money, you cannot sell the movie, the ticketing, the outcome is not good. How you gonna to facing the investor and the media, they critique your film. So I think you need to have a 100% for yourself to ready for this.
Yeah, I think and also join your platform, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I think like earlier when you said about film festival, I think this is something that helps a lot
Yeah,
of
yes.
young filmmakers and also
Mm,
uh, established filmmaker as well. Because
yes.
in Malaysia, I think we have a lots of directors that you never heard of their film, but their
Mm,
film won big prizes
yes,
overseas,
yes, yes.
right? So yeah, I think that's all we have for now. I think we have a few questions. So first, so to the audience out there, so if you have questions, you can just type into the comments. So the first question is from Alex Guick. Uh,
Mm.
it says that what is your challenge? You know, what is the challenge when you sell the idea to investors?
Okay. Actually, a lot of people they ask me this question as well. I think mostly for those typical director, if they are not coming from what we call it the design background or maybe artist background, sometimes they will like they will become a very good storyteller. So or maybe they show their script, or maybe we call it the story guideline. But you need to become a very good storyteller, like how to attract your investor, listen to your story from starting to the end and the gimmick and all. But my first film, 913, The Returning, because why, like just how Julian mentioned, have a lot of CGI. Because myself is a designer, graphic designer, also a photographer. My background is about the art industry. So you know what I do that time when I have the story, because mostly the people who invest a firm, they are considered like a big boss. They have no so much time to listen your story from, or maybe reading your very long script. So what I did is I having my own proposal. I asking some of my friends, they are illustrator. So I asked them, pay them, and can you draw out the 10 picture for me according to my story? So I give them my very rough sketch, how the angle look like, how the ghost inside look like. Uh, and I will pick from the different scene from the story and make it in the visual. So when I stand the script, including the storyboard, also this call, just like I say, the 10 scene, very important scene. From the scene, they saw the visual, they know about maybe the movie will look like this, the lighting, the mode, the mode will be like that. So from the visual, I enhance the story, I tell them the story again, so can what you call that, attract them. So I think this is the way I selling my idea to my investor, not just only reading because not there's not everyone have a good imagination after reading, especially for those who what we call it the investor and big boss. They are typical commercial guy maybe.
Okay, so I think there are second questions. So the second question is, can you tell us more about the script writing process? As in, do you write the entire script yourself or you work with a script writer?
Of course, I'm not a very good script writer, but normally I'm having my idea and story, so I will write it down in a point form. So after writing down in the point form, so I will discuss with my screenwriter, and my scriptwriter will give me some idea, and we're having like a mind mapping brainstorming section. So until we agree the story and the development of the whole storyline, so we only will come out the first draft. Then based on the first draft, we are starting to calculate the budget of the film. So after the budgeting come out, we only go back to the script and see, is it some idea, can it make it or not, or we need to modify it. So normally I think the final script will go through like maybe few process and few modified version.
Okay. So again, I think, yeah. So one other questions is that instead of the normal funding that you get from investors, I think any time have you ever thought of crowdfunding a film?
Yeah, of course. About the crowdfunding, we always heard about there's a few sector they were having like a pitching and crowdfunding. Yeah, we know about this, but mostly this kind of the crowdfunding, maybe you need to prepare a lot of like what we say, that the proposal, the document. For me myself, because crowdfunding, maybe you need to take more time to develop everything that they need and some of them also that you can fund crowding online. I heard them say before there's a few organization. But for me, I think if you want to make it the fund going into the filmmaker, I mean success to looking for the investor, I prefer that direct meeting the investor, because I believe that those people who can spend a lot of money to invest a film, they also need to get like something, what we call that, the safety feel for them. And like I can see the producer or director myself is more, they will feel more guarantee for this project.
Okay, interesting. Because I'm asking you because I think there was this film called Iron Sky.
Yes,
Part two,
yes.
sequel, they go through Indiegogo, and they give, I think they give reward to the people who back their projects. You know, like if you fund like maybe how much money your name will be in the credit, how much money you get a T-shirt, and so on and so on.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we have another few more questions. So usually, what is the budget that will be required for one production film? What is the average budget?
Average budget in Malaysia, the what we call that, the budget. Okay, put it this way, like making a film, of course we have a budget, but it depends on what is the story about and what the idea about making this film. Let's say maybe you making a drama, then you are using those actor and actress, they are not well known, they may be a new amateur, or maybe they are from stage performance. So you no need have a big cast and everything. Even the cost production just already surrounding a small house, because it's about a drama. Maybe like let's say maybe 500K RM, maybe you can make it. But if for like 913 The Returning, because we have a CGI, even though most of the scene will be like a drama, some of the scene is a computer graphic. So we produce our post-production in Thailand as well, because the overseas production, so the cost will be more higher. Of course, the effect we get is quite reasonable. So the total cost will be around like 1.8 million. But in Malaysia, I believe the standard budget for Malaysia to making a local film, I think 1 to 1.5 million is more safety and is much guaranteed that you will not lose your money, because it's up to it depend on the calculation, the whole market. Like the Chinese film, we cannot like put in too much budget for only the Malaysia Chinese film, because we are from the calculation, we cannot break even if the Chinese film is more than 5 million Malaysia ringgit. So it is very much different on what type the movie that you are making.
Okay, so Kevin Aziz asked one question: what can we do in Penang?
What can we do in Penang? We can making a very great film to promote Penang, not only the local food. Of course, I think in Penang is very strategy place to set up, like what we call that, the in Chinese they call Yin Chen. It's some kind of like a private studio, you know. But private studio in Malaysia, they built in and they set up in Johor, JB. But I think Penang is much suitable for this, because we have a very beautiful scenery, some more seaside, and from the geography reason and the culture reason, of course, And now Penang considered is one of the well-known city as well to worldwide, right? So I think Penang is quite suitable for this filming industry. But the problem is who will going to fund this kind of the project? Who will going to start this kind of the project? It's about
Maybe we need Kevin help.
yeah, I think so. Maybe Kevin, you listen to us.
Yeah, I think it's good because I think in Malaysia there's only one place, which is the Iskandar in Johor that has that
private studio.
that plywood studio, you know. Yeah. So another one, John Uy, he asked, "What do you consider your greatest achievement?"
Until this moment, I haven't met any my greatest achievement because every time I achieve certain achievement or certain level, then I still thinking another new level. Because I believe as a creative industry person, or maybe what we call it, we are looking for those creative mindset. There's no any limit or any goal that can stop us, because I always thinking about the new thing after then I achieve this what I want to do. So I feel like I cannot just slow down or maybe just stop there. Of course, until this moment, I think fulfill my childhood dream, become a film director, can consider one.
Okay, great. So this is from Alex. Alex have two questions, but I think the second questions is how you manage 300 people. Any challenges that you have?
Oh, of course, very challenging. First, from the what we call it, the pre-production. Before I met all the crew, so from the pre-post, so we'll deal with those like script writer, producer, the people who work before the onset job scope. So until the most challenge is onset that time, because normally from the production starting, the onset production starting, we are having a few briefing. Of course, every day morning we will have a short briefing as well, and discuss the whole day what we need to shoot, what was the idea about. Some more until the night, even after the shooting, sometimes I still need to meet the actor and actress to discuss about the line, the script for the next day. So if in this kind of the situation, as a director or producer as well, so when in the production period, we like feeling very exhausted because we don't have enough time to sleep. Of course, that time mostly I think the director, not only myself, I think mostly director, they will like become very what we call that, bongcho, bongcho.
Yeah,
Like very bad,
very tension, very
tension and very temper. Yeah. We have, I have one day we argue together with the DP on set. Seriously, and in very, what we call it, in very conflict way, because we have a different opinion on the shot. Of course, I understand that DP, they need to make everything going in the right direction and the idea. But sometimes, because as a director, sometimes I will on the spot to change all the idea, even sometimes the script. So this is the this is why I mentioned about. So when leading 300 people, to convince them to follow your step and your idea and what you want to do, is not very easy. Of course, we all together learn from this argument. We all together learn from this mistake. And the one more thing is good about like a teamwork in a filmmaking. Even how what we call it, how conflict or how heavy about the argument in the production time after the film release. All will feel like, hey, this nothing. It's not about the persona. We just try to everyone just try to make this production going to the good quality and good direction.
Okay, interesting. Okay, one question from Daniel. How do you decide what's a suitable element to be considered as part of the film, such as your actors? How do you choose your actors? How do you select your genre, location of film?
I think is for me, I will try from the angle as if now I already produced 2 films, so my next film will be like go back to the horror and a bit sci-fi genre. Why? Because I think this is what I love to do. So maybe when you want to produce Daniel, right? You want to produce a film. I can advise that maybe you need to try to think what you love and what is your best what's your best way to produce this movie according to your skill, of course, that you're interested.
Okay, interesting. So I think another one, what is the most difficult thing that you face when making a movie, like in the process of making a movie? I think this one David has mentioned just now
Yeah.
of his challenges. Okay, another question from Ken Chi. What is your next project? What is your future plan? Any new movie you are planning now?
New movie, yeah, of course we have my third movie is planning, and we still discuss with the investor from overseas. Of course, we're still looking for some investor and some sponsorship. How about can you ask a Panasonic to as my sponsorship?
Ken got no problem, huh?
Yeah, of course.
All right, another questions from Daniel. Do filmmakers have any responsibility to culture? Do you feel that being a creative person requires that you give back or tell a particular story or not do something else?
The last question, I'm not sure.
I
Do you
think
feel that being?
do you have? I think it's mostly about. Do you feel that filmmakers have responsibility to culture?
Yeah, for me, I think yes. Especially like why my first 2 films will shooting in my own hometown. The first one is exactly Paribunta is my hometown, the place that I was born here. Of course, because I'm familiar with everything about this town, even the story, then we are sent out through the 913, the returning throughout this film, we're sending the message to let those family who involved in this tragedy case, like just now I mentioned, send out this movie message is about us them not living in the past. So walk through the phobia. Of course, the second film, Sumpong O, we shooting in Kuala Kulau, is nearby my hometown. Then I think basically for those who have watched the Sumpong O, they know about the Sumpong O have a what we call that the culture shock within the K-pop and the Malaysia culture. That is the main story inside the Sumpong O. This is what I did for these 2 films that I produced.
Okay, great. So another one, I think we have 2 more questions.
Yeah.
When making a movie, how do you shoot the movie scene angle? I think the question is how do you
More the
choose?
technical,
Yeah.
more the technical thing. I think the movie is not about to only the shooting the movie scene. What we call that in the shooting in the movie and the still is different. Still photography is about the angle and lighting. That's only one, what we call that, the one picture. But for the movie, because the shooting, the angle will be running, how you placing the angle from top to the actor or from side to another side. It's not about the only the angle, because shooting in filmmaking is about how you're using this camera or this the DP, how to use the shooting angle to telling a storyline. It's very different from the still photography.
Okay, so I think we have the last question. So how do you assess what film audience want to watch?
How
How do you determine what kind of film your audience want to watch, and who are your target audience?
until right now I'm still surveyed because I only produce 2 films. Then the only thing I can say, like, what the film that I produce is according to my ability and my strength. I mean, in this moment, as a filmmaker, I will try to making a film that I feel that make me comfortable and make me more confidence. It's not about to purposely create a film for the audience to making a money. I think it's different because as a director, you need to have your own point of view and your own style. It's not just only follow the market trend. I think.
Okay, very well answered. So I think that's all we have today. Thank you, David, for your time this evening.
Thanks
So
to doing.
So stay tuned with us next Thursday, same time, on Equator Facebook page. Because next Thursday, we're going to talk about, we have 2 other guests. One is Mr. Gore from Mindstarter Penang. Remember, we talked about crowdfunding. So Mr. Gore is the founder of the crowdfunding platform
Oh, that's good.
that specialize in creative entrepreneurship.
Ooh.
So yeah, and creative projects. And then we also have Clarence from Easy Puzzle, who will be with us also. So we will be talking about creative entrepreneurship ecosystem in Malaysia next week. But yeah, before we go, so we have one very, very last minute question. Let's say an actor is being unprofessional. How do you manage the situation?
So means that we already assigned the actor or before. If before that we'll go pass through the casting. So if the actor is very unprofessional, of course they will not going past. They will not pass through the casting section. But if when we assign the actor or actress until the shooting moment, we only know that time they are not unprofessional. So how do I manage? Okay, I will direct ask them to leave. So finding the replacement. If the production just starting, of course, for those what we call that their attitude, I believe if the attitude is not good or maybe bad, they have a bad reputation. Normally, our casting manager, they already know. They will not try to recommend this kind of the actor or actress going to our production.
Yeah. So I think there are many ways that David has to face the challenges. Okay, yeah. So last comment, Kevin again, Chunwei, David, let's do something in Penang.
That's right.
Okay, so we'll wait for you, Kevin. Okay, let's take one last question. Again, one more question.
Okay.
Okay, when planning from very low, it says that when planning for shooting, is it important to think ahead into the future to see possibilities that could happen so that we can prepare or plan better for shooting?
Means shooting for the movie.
Yeah, when you plan to shoot a film, do
Hmm.
you look further into the possibilities? I think what Barry means is that, for example, there are a few production that has been shot, has started since before MCO, and suddenly MCO happens.
Hmm.
Things have to be postponed. You know,
Yeah, of course, because we always have a different or expected scenario. Even my both two production as well, we are facing sudden scenario come in our production. So we always have a plan B. So example, like maybe if today I plan to shoot like maybe we have 100 or maybe 500 extra scenes. That means it could be like maybe is a war zone scene. So that day maybe you need like a 500 extra to stand by. But maybe the shoot we're shooting outstation like a open space. But what if raining? So we always have a second plan. So in movie making, it's not about like we plan everything in secure. No, you always need to have a second plan B. This is what we do because I experienced for my second film, we supposed to shoot a scene is like a pasar malam, the night market. So that scene we hire 30 store. We purposely ask them to stop business on that day. So ask them to get their truck, everything. Then we close down a road in my hometown. So that day is more than 200 extra because we want to shoot a night market scene. But that day we suppose starting from 6 evening until the next morning 6. But that day raining from 6 until 11 we only start. So that means I only have like a 6 to 7 hour to complete the whole scene. But that day I try to cut down few scene. I mean I need to compromise because when I ask my producer, is that possible to let me shoot another day, like a extra one more day? But you need to know if we did that, so our cost will like maybe extra more than 100K RM. So at the end, I need to compromise. So we make a plan B, like maybe cut down some scene, or maybe even the idea of the angle we plan, we need to change. So make the whole process going more smoothness and more easy way.
all right, very very insightful. Okay, so thank you for your time, David.
Thanks today.
Thank you for doing this for us. Right, so thank you for joining us today. We will see you next Thursday at 8 p.m. So next Thursday, it's all about creative entrepreneurial ecosystem over here in Malaysia. Thank you.